2 3/4 inches. Let me go ahead and set some calipers for 2 3/4 inches. I'm going to check this later, but I'm going to go ahead and bring it down some. That'll make this a little easier. A lot of overhang to do this with one hand, like this. I think I'll give it a try on the edge and see what happens. Okay, now I think I'm going to use a bowl gouge just because it's got more meat to it. Nothing wrong with using a bowl gouge on a spindle. And I'm going to come down from here down to here. I'm not seeing this whole image in my eye, so I'm having to really follow these plans pretty closely to understand where this thing's going to wind up. Okay, now so the next task, we're going to do this feature right here. Okay, and we're just going to round that over a little bit. Okay, now I think you can start seeing these features develop. I'll wind up rounding this over just a bit. So there's the throat. I've got to come down just a little bit, and I've got to bring in this a little bit deeper. And I'll do that by eye. I'm going to use a 1/2 inch spindle gouge. So we got to come in here a little bit deeper and scoop up. Come in here a little bit steeper and then scoop up. We're coming in with the bevel almost perpendicular to the wood, and then rotate it as we come on through the axis. Scoop up. Scoop up. I'm going to bring this down. I think I'm going to do that with that same 1/2 inch gouge. Before I do, I'm going to remove this shoulder so I don't accidentally cut into it. Now this is just going to have more of a gentle taper. This is going to be the biggest area, so I need to bring it in from, I need to get rid of this right here. Okay, first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to just bring this down just so I can get my eye adjusted to the end. I'm not going to get it as far as I can because the drive, I'm going to cut away the drive, but that's okay. I'll do that in a little while. And I think I'm just going to, again, go back to the beading and parting tool, but I believe I'm going to, yep, just drop it down on my. Okay, I want to undercut this just a little bit so when it sits, matches the base. I'll have to come back with a skew or something. This cuts that surface a little rough. Just like here, I need to find one of the thickest part of the thin ones, and that's going to be this part right here. I'll measure it and then take it down to match that all the way across. Anchor, bevel. So on the bottom of this base, I've reduced an awful lot of wood. I've gotten this almost where it needs to be right here. Now it's time to start adding a little bit of definition of what that feature is going to look like. Just a big, long, asymmetrical cove. So we're going to get this feature right here. That's how thick it's going to be right there. So we've got a little ways to go. But this needs to come down, and I think I'm going to go ahead and sharpen a few tools and then come back. Okay, about the only thing left is to sand it. I'm just going to go to slow speed, use the wide piece of sandpaper. The key is don't sand off the crisp edges. Alright, just a couple of sanding tips. When you're sanding within a cove, you might want to consider wrapping your paper around a dowel that fits that round part. Change size dowels. And then the other one is, you pen turners know, when you sand this way, sometimes you get small little concentric rings, so you got to sand with the grain for each grit before you go to the next grit. I'm going to apply my first coat of antique oil, maybe more than one coat on the lathe. The rest of them probably off the lathe though. Oh, the color is rich. I'm just going to saturate this, let it soak in. I think this mahogany will really suck this stuff up. I probably should have put a coat of shellac on it for the sanding sealer, but didn't have any shellac. How's that? Now the end grain is going to absorb more of the finish and maybe a little bit darker. I don't know if that's going to be a problem or not. That's been another advantage of putting on a coat of sanding sealer. It helps seal that and it slows some of that down. Now I think I'm going to let that set just a couple minutes. Then I think I'm going to come back with maybe a 320 sandpaper and liquid wet sand it with some antique oil to try to build up a little pumice to get a little slurry to fill in those holes. Now I'm just going to wet sand it. In case anyone's worried about me wearing rubber gloves, this is only going 63 RPMs. It's not going to snatch me in or hurt me. Alright, our next step after I do a number more coats, we'll assemble the lamp. I want to completely do the finishing before we assemble it. Okay, here's a fun little turning. We're going to turn a little finial to go on the top of the lamp. It kind of mimics the base. It's going to be about 2 inches long. First thing we're going to do, we're going to drill a little hole in it to mount it on a screw chuck at the very end so we can finish it off. And we'll get to that in a moment. That'll make more sense then. But now the next drill bit's going to be a little bit larger, and I'll show you 31/64 that this little nut that I picked up at the hardware store, it's a 1/4 inch by 28 thread, so it's kind of an oddball thread size. It will just almost fit in that hole. So enough when I drill it, I think I can put a little epoxy and tap it right in. So that's what that nut size is. So we're only going to drill this in just a little ways, deep enough to bury a nut. Now I'm going to face this off just a little bit so it'll be flat when it screws down. It's running pretty true, so it's not going to take much. I'm going to put just a very slight chamfer on it. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and round it off. I've got to reverse this thing. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to hold it. I think I'm going to, for the time being, I think I'm just going to put a tiny little V groove so I can reverse it in here. We'll probably want to finish turning this between centers, but this way I can kind of get it running true and round and identify where the center is. Use a 5-center and just tap it in. Okay, there's the center. I'm probably not going to knock that out, but I might as well bring it up while I finish rounding this thing off. This is not a real strong wood, and it's not a super hold, but it's weak mahogany. Now let's turn this between centers and shape this thing. I've got my lamp base across the room where I can see it, and I'm just going to kind of play with the turning and get one that sort of resembles it. I'm going to use my drive center that's the smallest because I'll be getting down near the base of this thing. Alright, so the base of this is going to be flat. Then I'm going to have a tiny little cove. I think I need a detail gouge. This back too, we're going to have to move that later. Okay, let's take that off. Okay, the more you turn, the more you have accoutrement. So I'm using this screw chuck I made for a different project, and this fits that hole I drilled. So I'll just put this on. And snug it up. Now I'm going to go ahead and bring up the tailstock for support as I part this off. Okay. And that ought to give us enough to take care of that. Now, looking at that, let me think about whether that detail at the top is significant enough. Actually, I think what I want to do is come back and this do a little bit more in that cove. There we go. I like that better. Sometimes it's the details that really make a difference on these projects. As we talked about before on spindles, sand up and down with the grain. Okay, now we'll go back to and there's our little finial. Now all we need to do is glue that nut in it. Let's see if it fits. Oh yeah, that'll press fit in there just perfectly with a little bit of epoxy, and that'll look great. Real pleased with that miniature lamp on top, and it carries that design. Your eye just flows up the lamp, and when it gets the finial, it just sort of resonates. You can see how elegant this is going to look at the top of this lamp. Okay, time to glue the two parts together. Because this is side grain, the grain's going this way, and the grain's going this way. This one will tend to have a little bit of movement, so you don't want to make this hole too snug. I'm just going to put a little glue, use a little carpenter's glue. These two pieces were slightly different colors, so I'm going to put the lightest to the front because it matches this a little bit better. You don't want that wood movement splitting this piece down the road due to changes in humidity. Okay, so I don't know, I think you can see the difference. This is the darker side, this is the lighter side. This is going to be the front of the lamp. So I'm going to put this side in here, and then we're going to buff it up before we actually do the final assembly. Let's turn this just a little bit. Alright, now let's buff it up. Oh, and I'm pleased the way that shined up. It looks nice. Now, I got a number of these parts from an old lamp, which I just thought was ugly. It's not real brass. It's brass and tin and whatever. So I'm just going to throw it in the trash. But some of the parts I got out of it, I did get the... I'm salvaging what they call the harp, the lamp holder, a weight that'll make this a little more stable, although this one's fairly heavy. Some of the rod. Now this particular rod was only threaded an inch or so on each side, and it happens to fit my design, so I can reuse it. But it might be easier to just buy a piece of threaded rod. It's not real expensive. This piece was about $5. And might make you a couple of lamps depending on how you use it. But I bought it in case this one was just a bit off, rather than screw with it. It might be easier to use this. You also get various fittings off the lamp. Here's a piece of plastic that keeps it from rubbing against the threaded rod, and of course threaded nuts to hold it. For my particular one, the lamp that I'm reusing has got a switch on it, but I really wanted to put a switch down near the bottom to make it easier for my mother-in-law to turn it on and off without having to struggle to reach up here to get to it. As I feared, I'd be just a bit off in the measurements, so I'm not going to use the original lamp rod that came out of that lamp. I'm going to fit this and cut it with a piece of hacksaw, and then we'll come back and put it back together. So I cut a piece of lamp rod, threaded lamp rod to fit. I have put this plastic nut on it to keep the wire that's going to be threaded through here from rubbing and possibly causing a short. Then I've placed up against it this lock nut. I'm going to put that through this little plate, which I salvaged. This is not necessary, but it's what I had, with this piece of cast iron to give it a little weight. So then I'm going to just slide this through here like this. And then I can raise this up, and I've got this other lock nut to put on this end. Okay, I took a piece of lamp cord, hooked the plug on the end of it. Now it should be a simple matter of fishing it through the hole I drilled in the side, pulling out enough slack. Just get this out of the way. I can lay this down. Feed it up through here. You can see this plastic that'll keep it from rubbing that I salvaged off the old lamp. Okay, after you feed the wire through, you're going to feed it through the harp and assemble that. You're going to secure that with a lock nut before you put the lamp holder on. Feed it through the bottom of the base of the lamp holder. Screw it on. Okay, now as it comes through, you're going to take the end and you're going to tie an underwriter's knot, or what some people used to call an electrician's knot. Tie the knot and wire it. Basically, this knot keeps this thing from, if there's any stress on the wire, it won't pull through and do a strain on the electrical connection. Then you're going to make sure that the rib side is fastened to the silver side for polarity. And I think I'm going to make this cut it just a bit longer. Okay, here's the lamp completely assembled. I put an inline switch on the back. Here's that elegant little finial we turned. The only problem with a particular lampshade I've got, you won't be able to see the finial, so that's okay. It still serves its purpose of holding the lampshade in place, and if she doesn't like this lampshade, which came off an old lamp, we'll replace it with one that might show the finial. So, there we are. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, like it, share it, leave a comment below. If you don't know much about electricity, get some help from somebody that's qualified to give you some assistance to make sure you get it wired up properly. Y'all come back here.